power.
A vehicle that could launch into space as a rocket, put 25 tons of cargo into orbit, and land on a runway like an airplane. Not just once, but over and over again. In the 1980s, NASA would rip this concept from the pages of science fiction and place it squarely on the cutting edge of space travel.
Going up the launch pad, looking up and seeing, this huge, rocket that kind of sounds like an animal. You can kind of hear the gurgling and the hissing, and, it sounds like it's alive.
The few seconds right before liftoff, every time I've done this, has been a little bit of fright about whether I really want to be doing this or not.
10 seconds, we have go from the engine start.
I was really just focusing right on the tasks at hand and trying not to think about, the fact that tons and tons and tons of rocket fuel were about to explode around us.
Liftoff of Shuttle Discovery.
Discovery, roll program. Roger, roll, Discovery.
Discovery on the proper alignment of the 8.5-minute ride to orbit. Seconds into the flight.
The forces and the sensations are just powerful beyond imagination. They shake you so much that you can hardly see the displays in front of you. Right after the solid rocket boosters are jettisoned at 2 minutes, it's a very smooth ride. The acceleration is very powerful, and you're on your way to orbit with a very different feeling.
As soon as you achieved orbit, the engines cut off. Just instantaneously, you go from being pressed in the seat to hanging in your straps and sort of floating in the cockpit.
The fact that I was going to be the first American woman to go into space carried huge expectations along with it. And of course, it was very important to me that I understood my role really well and that I was really well prepared for the mission, because the last thing that I wanted to do was get into space and make a mistake. So I wanted to be very, very sure that I was able to meet the expectations.
Every step you take, I'll be watching you. Oh yeah, you've been coming. Maybe your mind's too fast.
But it wasn't for me a desire to be the first African American in space. My desire was to make a contribution, just to make a contribution. And I think I probably told people that I would probably prefer not being in that role versus being in that role, because I figured being the number 2 guy would be a lot more fun.
Well, as you can see, we're having lots of fun up here trying to figure out what happens to the human body in zero-G.
We are the world. We are the children.
It feels like you weigh twice as much as you normally do during the entry portion. Once you get on final, all of the emotions and focus are just on that last little bit of landing, and it's a neat way to end a flight when you actually get to put your hands on the stick and fly it yourself.
Gear down and lock. Touchdown.
Engines throttling up. 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
We come together today to mourn the loss of 7 brave Americans, to share the grief that we all feel, and perhaps in that sharing to find the strength to bear our sorrow and the courage to look for the seeds of hope.
Risk is something that we have to just really consider as part of our life, especially in exploration. I know we've had some tragedies, and we'll probably have tragedies in the future, but you know, the ones that we've lost were probably the first ones to tell you, keep pressing on, don't stop because of us.
My role as a mechanical engineer was to find out, what fell apart or what happened. And we finally found that the O-ring is supposed to be designed so that pressure on one side pushes them more securely into place. The housing for that big O-ring was just the opposite. The pressure actually pushed it out. Finally, of course, when the thing burned through and actually burned the nozzle through, it was pretty obvious to see what the problem. So we got the job of redesigning.
1, 0, and liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Roger roll, Discovery.
Yeah, I'm free.
Good morning, Discovery. And you got a go for HST deploy arms.
NASA opened the decade of the 90s by placing the Hubble Space Telescope into orbit. It would peer farther into space and further back in time than any other telescope. And in the closing decade of the 20th century, Hubble and a host of other robotic explorers would provide astonishing new views and perspectives.
Everybody was up. We were off to discover the secrets of the universe. It was great. And then things started to be sort of scratch your head. Why is it taking so long? Why can't we focus the telescope? What's going on? What was wrong with Hubble is kind of the same thing that's wrong with your eyes when you need glasses. Basically, the shape of the lens was wrong. So in essence, the telescope was nearsighted and it needed some glasses. I was taking a shower in the hotel in Germany, and they have these really funny shower heads where the shower head will kind of move up and down and back and forth, and that's when it dawned on me. We can have this instrument robotically raise up the corrective lens, flip out, if you will, just like that shower head, these other corrective optics to correct the aberration for all the instruments. All of the work leading up to the first servicing mission is probably the most exciting time of my career.
The NASA program changed the nature of astronomy. We made some extravagant promises on Hubble. We undersold the program. Whatever we said, Hubble did better, I think. It really changed the nature of what we know.
Hubble is one of the most phenomenal things we've ever done in space. Data that we get from Hubble will continue to change the way we think about ourselves, about the universe, and our place in it. You know, the pictures from Hubble are iconic. You see them everywhere. The fingers of God. This is the gas pillars that are actually many, many, many light years across. So the scale of these things is enormous. And you're actually seeing the birth of stars. This is a star nursery. It starts to give you a sense of how small we are and how vast the universe is. And that's my favorite picture.
NASA, especially Goddard, was the place where I could carry out the dreams that I had, which were to push forward an experiment that would measure the Big Bang radiation better than anyone had ever tried before, and took on the job of working on COBE. For many decades, people didn't agree with the Big Bang theory. They thought something else must be true. Generations of astronomers thought it must have been the steady state theory. Einstein didn't like the idea. So when we got the measurements that fit exactly on the theoretical prediction for the Big Bang, this tremendous sigh of relief went through the world as well. Our measurement of the hot and cold spots in the Big Bang radiation, which show us not only is the Big Bang theory